Welcome to Lawyers Without Billboards, where we break down family law and other areas of the law. No gimmicks, no legal jargon, just real, unfiltered talk from real lawyers. Join your hosts, Steve, Patty, Jimmy, and Alexa, partners at Shewmaker & Lewis, a law firm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Every episode, they tackle the legal questions that matter most: divorce, custody, child support, alimony, and everything in between. They'll pull back the curtain to give you real insights on what happens inside the courtroom and beyond.
Do the thing.
Hey, this is Steve on the Ides of March. This is like our fourth take today.
The Ides of March, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The Ides of March?
Make it the Clydes of
Let
March.
it go.
The Clydes of March.
Let it go. There it is. All right. Welcome back to Lawyers Without Billboards. Wait, you could just put that guy there and then you could...
Okay.
It could be a sound effect. Anyway.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Lawyers Without Billboards with Shewmaker and Lewis. Today, we are talking about attorney's fees.
But before we do that, we got to just talk about what's going on with Shewmaker and Lewis. We had a firm potluck last night. Had a good time.
It was a great time.
Shout out to our special guest, Erica and Phil McCurdy.
Are they really special guests anymore?
Well,
they were. They brought brownies.
Phil hangs out.
Wait.
They were regular. No, they were regular brownies, as far as I know.
Phil hangs out in our office a couple days a week. He's got his own office here at Shewmaker Lewis. But Erica is actually interesting. She is what I would call an ancillary.
Unlike Phil, apparently.
No, Phil's a good guy. Erica's an ancillary
But he's not interested.
divorce. She provides service. She provides post-divorce parent coordination. Yeah, there we go.
Provide services.
That's horrible. Erica McCurdy.
You said it.
Erica McCurdy's she's a lady. And she's a good lady. And she provides
ancillary services.
We're going to get Erica on the podcast one of these days soon
About parent coordination.
to talk about parent coordination. But Jimmy, what are we talking about today, man?
We were talking about attorney's fees.
You said that already.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Well, but when Steve starts talking, all he hears is...
The American rule. You know what the
Pay your
American
own
rule-
shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's the American rule. Everybody pays their own attorney's fees. All right.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
No,
We're done. Peace out.
Oh,
It was
okay.
good to see you guys.
Jimmy.
All right. So one of the most common questions that we get is, can you make the other side pay my attorney's fees?
Can't he pay my attorney's fees?
He caused this. He needs to
They
pay.
filed this.
They filed this, so they should have to pay
Yeah,
for it.
I don't want this divorce.
I want the law changed. If you have an affair with the Scandinavian au pair, by law, you should have to pay the attorney.
Oh, that.
I can get behind that.
That needs to be a grounds for divorce.
Yeah.
Having an affair with
with
Scandinavian
your affair, the nanny or whatever.
Actually, when I was in the Army, I had another lawyer I was served with who came to me and he says, my wife's all in a twist because I want to get this au pair. And I was like, how old is this au pair? And he's like, 24. And I said, which country is she from? Finland, Norway, or Switzerland? And he's like, you're like Nostradamus. I was like, Sweden,
Not
yeah.
Switzerland.
And I was like, you're a lawyer.
Different place.
You're a lawyer. How stupid can you be? And there were other people in the room that actually started laughing, But anyway,
Anyway, all right. Attorneys.
What?
Now more the thing is South American countries,
Yeah, true.
not European countries now.
Oh, wait, you mean your wife's not okay with you having a 20-year-old Brazilian chick coming to live in your house?
I don't have a wife.
I was saying it in general.
Oh, well, you're looking at me. I was like, I don't have a wife.
all right. So we're here to talk about.
Depends on the day.
I
Maybe
forget.
next go round.
Well,
I forget what we're here about.
Steve keeps wanting to go down to the swamp. There's a lot of gators.
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Attorney's fees.
Attorneys.
Okay, there we
Tell
go.
us about attorneys.
Okay, guys. So in Georgia, there are a number of code sections that you can move for attorney's fees under.
Oh, my favorite.
What is your favorite?
91514.
Okay. What is 91514?
It has to do with conduct during the course of the litigation.
But if you, by who? Conduct by who during the litigation?
It can be either the party or the attorney.
Or the attorneys, which is one of the best parts about 91514.
And I like that kick. So 91514 is, don't be a jerk during litigation. Don't be overly litigious. And don't refuse to give discovery.
Can we go back to the fundamental? The American rule says each side pays their own attorney's fees, but that means that by statute, if there's a law written in the law that says attorneys...
A law written in the law.
A law written in the law, Jimmy.
It is well-written law.
If the judge can award attorney's fees if you meet the specific terms of the statute. So there are attorney's fee statutes in personal injury, in other areas of the law that we're not familiar with.
Which means
No, we don't care.
Which means there's no such thing as common law attorney's fees.
Correct, because the common law is the American rule.
Pay your own shit.
Now, right, every time we say...
American rule.
Yeah, pay your own shit.
Okay.
American rule.
So eloquent.
So what you're talking about is a specific statute. In family law, there's about 5 or 6 statutes that we can go to under different. Well, I'm giving them framework.
Well, yes. So here, let's kind of start from the top, and then we'll dive back into 915.14.
No, I spent 915.14 on top.
Okay. Well, here, what do you love about 915.14?
I love it because, again, it has to do with conduct, and it applies to both parties and their attorneys. And, typically you have to file a written motion to get attorney's fees under 915.14. However, there is a clause that a judge on his or her own motion or sua sponte can award attorney's fees. Have you guys ever had that?
Not that I can recall.
Have not.
I have.
Yes, you have. I think you have. You got attorney's fees against an attorney.
I know, but
That was a
no,
written motion?
but no, I asked for that.
Yeah, no, you asked for it, but did you have a written motion?
No, I actually did not. Not at that time.
I actually got it from Judge Wynn, your old boss.
Oh, I remember.
Out in Newton County.
That means he was frustrated with somebody.
Against the attorney because it was a motion to compel hearing, and it clearly became evident, or at least, that the attorney was part of the problem. And Judge Wynn is like, well, what about attorney's fees? And I was like, well, Judge, technically the discovery, they have to like not comply with the motion to compel, then you get attorney's fees. And he's like, yes. He's like, but, and at about this time, his staff attorneys handed him a piece of paper. He said, but under 915.14, he's like, the court on its own motion can grant fees. And he starts reading this.
I've made my motion, and motion is granted.
Okay. All right. But okay. No. All right. But fuck all that. Here's what I want to know. Let's have a nose measuring contest. Jimmy, what's the most you've ever gotten an attorney's?
Polite way to say it.
Yeah, I know it. What's the most you've ever gotten an attorney's fees awarded to your client?
It was 30-something thousand.
Alexa, how about you?
Ooh, hold on, I gotta think about it.
Yes, we know Patty has the most.
Yeah, no, Patty has the most so far.
I'm
trying to remember my.
So I had 111,000, but on remand it was reduced to 58,000. I think
It was appealed, yeah.
Yeah, I think my so then I think if you go with the 58,000, then my other one that's really high is I have one that's 61,000.
Because you're forgetting the one we had in front of Judge Walker and Gwinnett. That was about 83,000, wasn't that?
Yeah, 85 or 87,000. You're right, and that's I forgot about that one.
And what's the most you've had? What's the most you had awarded against your client? Anybody?
Like $6,000.
6? How about you, Jimmy?
Something like that. That was also
Mine was a 1962.
Well, mine was 1962 that he made 200 grand and she was a stay-at-home wife.
Right, and you
So
I don't know off the top of my head. No, I got one that's pending. That's
yeah, it could be.
it makes me a little.
For years and years, I was proud that the most my client ever paid was $5,000, and then another attorney said that just means none of your clients had any money.
Thanks.
I had one that was 12, but I'm not sure if that was by consent or not. I can't remember. But most recently, up in front of Judge Bagley up at Forsyth, my client who was high all the time.
Oh yeah.
But about 50,000. But okay, what's the most you've ever had awarded that you've ever collected from an attorney, not a client, but an attorney?
I've not had one against an attorney yet.
Because that's some sexy stuff right there.
I know.
So I had one that was just 3,500, not that long ago. But
what did the attorney do wrong?
He didn't show up for 2 hearings.
That's respectable. How about you? You haven't had one yet?
Well, and then.
Yeah.
At the last hearing that we had scheduled that he didn't show up for again, that he'd already paid attorneys for, the judge was like, well, Mr. Lewis, I have it in my notes. We'll go ahead and put it back down for another hearing and see if he shows up. But
attorney's not showing up.
It's just going to keep.
Good. It's bad.
Well, and this guy was
a superior conflict. He just didn't show.
He just didn't show up. No, and this guy was also previously disbarred.
How about that? Okay, how about you, Patty? How much have you had awarded against an attorney to you?
It was like $2,100.
Okay. I've had $1,384. I can't say the name of the attorney.
I was $1,383.
Okay, 13.
And change.
Are we?
There was change.
Are we splitting hairs over $1?
Yeah, I mean,
Be accurate, dude.
I can't say the name of the attorney. But the bottom line, it wasn't bad conduct. It was that they filed a frivolous case and said, well, I don't want to go into the details.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, when I got the check, I wanted to frame it. I didn't want to cash it.
No.
And Patty's like, hell no, we're cashing
money.
Well, so here, which brings me to my next point with frivolous litigation.
I know, by the way, that was marital money.
And 915.14. Yeah. So I think my particular favorite story of 915.14 and getting an award of fees under 915.14 was an opposing party. This was from a we had divorce and a contempt in Fulton County, two separate cases.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a little while after the contempt, where he was ordered to pay about $5,000 in attorney's fees, as well as a bunch of other stuff, he filed a motion for reconsideration in Forsyth County, where she lives.
What?
Exactly.
Just has its own action.
Yeah. And so
And the clerk's office was like, I mean, okay, why not? Let's just see where this goes.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So I drafted up this beautiful response, basically. It included
beautiful.
Included my motion for attorney's fees in it because
It was the best
Naturally.
response.
Did you put like little hearts over the eyes and little smiley faces?
XOXO.
it was very,
XOXO.
it was very
It was
cute.
on
like
scented paper.
It was the best ever, Trump.
Anyway, go
I
on.
did this day,
Anyway,
2025.
So then, so then we get put on a calendar, go into court, and opposing counsel gives his argument, and it was Judge Smith. And so he was
Forsyth County?
Smith don't play.
and so he was like,
Yeah,
Mr. Lewis? And I was like, well, Your Honor. And he goes, you know what?
Everything that guy said was bullshit.
Well, and I was like, Your Honor, basically what he's trying to do is appeal this to you. And he goes, I'm glad you said that. So, at least, and I was like,
Judge, you good?
I was like, but Judge, I have so much prepared that I wanted to talk about.
That's what the other attorney said.
No, I said, that's all I was thinking.
Oh, he's heard you tell a story before.
Yes. and that,
Like, we get it.
no,
Okay.
so he just kind of went from there, and then he was like, Mr. Lewis, I see you have a pending motion for attorney's fees as well. How much is that? Said, Judge, here
He just
are
got
my
to the
fees.
chase, yeah.
And
All right, stop. We need to go. Okay, obviously, someone needs to help Jimmy get back on the track. What the most common attorney's fee statute is 19-6-2, right?
Divorce.
Yes.
In divorce. Talk about
The
that.
most common, but it is common.
Talk about that.
Okay, so when we're talking about that in a divorce, what is the piece of 1962 that sets it apart from other attorneys' fees
Has to
statutes?
consider the financial circumstances of both parties.
Yeah.
And it's based on the disparity of income between the parties and the access to marital funds.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the case law. But what's interesting is 1962 does not say that the court can only award, attorney's fees to the one that doesn't have access to money.
Correct.
Makes less money.
Correct.
It just says that the court has to consider the financial circumstances of the parties. So it doesn't require it to be a one-way,
Right.
a one-way street.
Patty is the queen of the nerds.
It's true.
Well, I'm sorry, we are lawyers, so we are supposed to read the law.
Little known fact. This is true too. This is true. Patty was an extra in the movie Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes.
No, because I was like 6 when that came out. No, younger than that.
Patty's going to start her own movie, Avenge the Nerds.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I actually worked in a movie theater when Revenge of the Nerds came out. I've probably seen it 200 times.
What year did that come out?
1983, if I
Oh,
remember.
that was before I was
83, 84.
That's much later than I thought.
Did you just say this before you were born?
Yeah.
Should have.
I hate you.
Should have, Alexa.
Sorry.
Okay.
Also before I was.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah, what do you got?
All right, so go to the next one.
Okay, 1993.
Custody.
Custody case. Yep.
And widely in the judge's discretion.
Wide open.
Widely. Now,
There's no criteria. The judge can, it doesn't have to be prevailing.
That's right.
It doesn't have to consider the financial circumstances. There's just that judge, you can award fees if you
What's the fees?
and guardian fees.
yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Well, what's the weird one?
What's the weird
Which one?
Well, hang on.
The judge?
Under
The guardian?
1993 can also award fees for experts, for guardians,
Jimmy just gave me the hand.
Other costs.
other costs.
Jimmy gave me the hand before he did the
I've
airport.
gotten attorney's fees under 1993 a couple times.
I've got
It's awesome because it's the broad discretion of the judge. And if the judge is like, I really can't
It
do this,
is.
but 1993, I don't have to
It
explain a
is.
damn thing. I can just, here you go.
It is, as I like to refer to it to my clients, as wide ass open.
Wide ass.
That's right, wide ass open.
You know what you just looked like?
What?
Ricky Bobby after his first race where he's like, the car was real good.
I'm just speechless. I got.
You did it again. How about that?
Is it lunchtime yet? I'm hungry.
All right. Moving on.
All right, moving on. 19615. Child support.
There's your prevailing party situation.
Talk to us.
All right, so what does the court require when we are, or what does this statute
Teaching
require?
us. This is your show. You teach us.
Yeah, teach us something.
Teach us something.
Okay.
Come on. You're like what's that name of that Greek philosopher? Scrotates.
Socrates?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. I prefer my word. Go ahead, Jimmy.
All right, go ahead, babe. All right.
All right, so this is what we were talking about a few minutes ago with prevailing party.
Yeah.
So
What does prevail mean?
To Willie.
to win.
Oh, okay.
Look it up next time you look up equitable.
That's a lawyer word.
Hey, go on. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when we are talking about a prevailing party and a child support modification, we're talking about, okay, Steve, Patty is paying you child support.
How you she
Because you got custody.
Because you got custody.
Yeah, but he should be paying me for support.
I am in full.
Animals are property in the state of Georgia. That's a whole separate podcast.
Not Parsi.
Parsi is a beautiful horse, admit it. But instead of buying Parsi, we could have bought 612 German short-haired pointers like Cookie. 612 of those fuckers. Can you believe that?
That would be pretty amazing.
That gives me anxiety. Thinking of it.
terrifying.
More anxiety than Cookie.
Yeah, that's a lot of neuroticism in this enough for my eggs.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We'd never catch her.
No, we would.
Just like Cookie and Ace run around down here.
Yeah, right? We'd never get anything.
All right, so Jimmy, get back on the track.
All right, so prevailing party.
Yeah.
Court, when ordering child support and a child support modification,
Yeah.
can award it to the prevailing party.
Yeah.
So
The winner.
yes, exactly. So here, he got a new job. I think he needs to be paying more child support.
Yeah.
Right there. That's your and child support goes up. Prevailing
So
party.
isn't it enough that you get more child?
I got attorney's fees and a child support modification where the other side claimed they were unemployed for over a year. And so, of course, the evidence that had to be put into place was, what efforts did you make to get a job, things of that nature, because nobody's just going to say, oh, I haven't had a job, so I shouldn't pay child support, right? Mm-hmm. But then the evidence also showed that his girlfriend at the time was paying thousands of dollars a month into his bank account,
That's a great girlfriend.
knocked down his house, built a new one, things like that.
I need some of that girlfriend
The
action.
judge denied the child
Patty
support
might be okay with you
modification.
having that kind of girlfriend.
Yeah, she would. Patty's very
totally
pecuniary in her
denied.
nature, you know.
Totally denied the child support modification, and as it was, we were the prevailing party because it wasn't modified. Got every dime in attorney's fees.
Yeah, that's a good
Like you're just
example.
wasting the court's time.
If I came to Patty and I said, hey, I'm having an affair with a woman, she'd say, is she rich?
Yeah. Where's my tax?
right?
No, hang on. To get us back on track for just a minute,
Sorry.
an interesting part about this statute is when we are talking about the custodial parent modifying based upon the non-custodial parent's failure to exercise time.
Yeah.
And if that modification is granted, then attorney's fees shall
Mandatory.
You know what?
shall
You
be.
know what we call that? We call that a burden shifting fee provision because the burden shifts from the person asking for fees to the other party to explain why they shouldn't have
That's it.
But here's the problem with that provision because it's a great provision in child support. But when do you file a child support modification based on that factor alone?
Like literally ever.
Never.
Plus, then you know what happens. They start exercising.
Yeah, you usually have other factors.
It's like when a guy or lady calls me and says, hey, my ex-spouse is making more money. I need to modify child support. Tell me how they're making more money. Well, they're driving a Lexus now. I'm like, okay, we can file that blindly, which means we file it and then request discovery. And if you're right, it's game on. But if you're wrong, we're going to dismiss the case and you're going to eat some fees.
Yep. Yeah.
Attorney's fees to the other side.
Yep.
But I have no problem attaching that, as I explained to my associate the other day, when I have other bases for modification.
Exactly.
So I'll tag it on there, but by itself it's dicey. Because you have to prove
you don't
it.
know.
You don't know.
But
Right.
you also have to consider what's your client making now, too. Because if you
Always.
put those numbers in the worksheet and it's a difference of virtually nothing,
Right.
what's the point?
Right. It's a fun game to play, and I say game lightly. It's it's people's lives. It's an interesting intellectual exercise.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, one that you don't have on your list here?
What's up?
The alimony modification. The
Should be.
Live and lover. Yeah.
My wife just called you out as a bitch. I'm just saying. You weren't prepared.
Are we even going to get through these? What are we doing?
Probably not.
Are you guys familiar with this one?
Yeah.
The live-in lovers? If you file a modification of alimony based on your former spouse, having been in a
Meretricious.
marriage-like relationship, and you don't prevail,
Pay fees?
Yeah, and it's you shall pay fees.
That's for you.
I got $41,000 in attorney's fees.
Oh, I remember that because the other attorney on the other side said that you were making a mockery of the alimony statute.
No, that was not the other.
That was our case evaluator.
He said you were making a mockery of the alimony statute, and then smack down, you got $41,000 in fees. She bought a horse with that.
pretty solid.
I'm gonna tell you something. Siobhan, tell you something.
It's about half a horse.
I'll tell you something.
Just the back half.
I forgot what I was going to tell you. It was something. But I forgot.
It'll come back.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. Keep going.
Happens when you get old.
But that's that's another one of those burden shifting.
I'm not the one with granny glasses on my face.
What's wrong with my glasses?
Don't speak ill of Patty.
I think that
How dare it's you?
I think I look very
Very astute.
Classic.
Yeah, no.
Mature.
You say classic and you mean old.
Erudite.
Rude.
I look I don't know.
Her Greek goddess name is Erudite.
Wow.
Okay.
So we already talked about 915.4 too.
19750. So when we're talking about legitimation cases, paternity cases.
It's still widely in the judge's discretion.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, and last we're going to talk about 91137. So motion to compel, which in my experience, I have had a couple judges who were a little apprehensive to order fees under 915.14, and we're like, no, let's just move under 91137 because it's a lot easier to pinpoint exactly where the problem was and the discovery issues rather than kind of 915.14 where it can be a little more wild.
Well, plus it's practically appeal proof if you've got all your documentation ducks in a row.
Why are you wearing boots, man? You think you're a cowboy?
We talked about this.
Well, not be a cowboy.
Ambush.
A hambush, yeah.
I think you started it.
I did.
The one you said I was out in the plains in West Texas.
I did.
Yeah, the other statute that we run into for attorney's fees is
I've been to West Texas with you before.
under the TPO, the TPO statute.
Oh,
yeah.
Temporary protective orders. We're going to have whole separate podcasts about TPOs, but you can get fees under TPOs.
Yep. Yeah.
I love to get a fee under TPOs.
So let's see. That's
It's like an aphrodisiac to me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different statutes.
8 different statutes.
in
Big
criminal
time.
that we run into.
So when you call me and say, I want the other side to pay my attorney's fees, my answer is we have the opportunity to attempt to get you attorney's fees from the other side. However, I never guarantee it to a client because judges are funny people.
Yeah.
You never know. And what do you all do when they say, well, I don't want to pay you anything. I want you to go get the fees from the other side?
Yeah.
Funny how.
Funny how?
Not funny, haha.
What do I say?
I was expecting you to pick up the Goodfellas reference, but
I let it go. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Getting attorney's fees is so discretionary by the judge, not the jury. Is never a jury for an attorney's fees question. It's judge in family law. And it's so much to their discretion. There's so many facts and nuances that I tell people, sorry, I am not, going to take a case on the hopes of getting attorney's fees. Now, occasionally under 1962, which means the financial circumstances, if I have somebody who is deprived of money and the other side is worth, millions, I know I'm going to get paid. I have rolled that dice many times successfully because of you guys, because I have other people in my firm that are there for security. If I was on my own, that would be more dicey. And I tell people that all the time. I said, I will take your case on at no money down because I feel pretty good about it. But I don't do that in every case.
Yeah, same.
What I also don't like, sometimes you have cases where you feel pretty comfortable, like like you said, under 1960, you're going to get fees. What I don't like is you typically don't get all of your fees.
It's true.
Right.
And I have the clients who are like, well, the judge orders, that he pays $10,000 of fees, and there's still like, $2,000 or $4,000 left, and they're like, well, why do I have to pay this?
Right.
Okay, because did you not get the benefit?
Right, exactly. Did you not get the benefit of my representation? Did I not get you virtually everything you wanted?
Right.
Things like that. I've had that happen. I've gotten, you can ask a judge for however much you want.
That's right.
The likelihood is they're going to give you some if you've got a good argument for attorneys.
But not always all. Yeah.
Give you all.
That's right. And I have one woman now. I asked for fees from a Fulton County judge, and I got a fraction, but not the whole thing.
Right.
She's been paying me off for a long time. A good lady. You're absolutely right. But I don't want to turn people away just because they have no ability to pay. So we always look at it case by case.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Sure.
Jimmy, I don't mean to take you off your topic. What else you got, man?
that's really kind of it.
Oh, are we wrapping up?
We're wrapping up.
This is Shewmaker and Lewis. If you have any question about attorney's fees, you're gonna email Lewis, A like Apple, Lewis at shoemakerlewis.com. And that's a wrap for Lawyers Without Billboards. Wait. We don't have any more billboards, do we?
No, still no billboards.
Okay, Ides of March, no billboards.
Clyde's
Peace
a-
out.
Ruin the Ides of March.
Clyde's
I'm a very Shakespearean dude. I'm almost as much of a thespian as your thespian without lipstick.
You're without the lipstick, or you have the lipstick?
You know what you like to
He's
do.
a thespian with eyeshadow.
You're horrible. I hate you.
That's it for this episode of Lawyers Without Billboards. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to follow and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more resources or to get in touch with us, visit shoemakerandlewis.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.